Meanwhile, the same person said 4 more for Nana. And so, if you follow that logic, it means that no president deserves a second term. That's what the person is saying. So even your 8 years you are talking about, it means when you win and you want re-election, you're not going to be accountable. And so let's, put that illogical thinking aside and look forward. The first was about the prosecution of the laptop coup. In regards to our colleague Bakavoma. And I do think that I don't want to be in contempt of law, but I can say on authority that I don't think that that prosecution was necessary. And so let me just keep it like that so that I don't get cited for contempt. I think that prosecution was unnecessary, and it was an overreaction by the government. With regards to what is happening in Kenya, I don't think that we have to wait for the backlash of what the youth did in Kenya for us to do the things that we have to do. And that's why I started talking. I said, look, the time has come for us to act, and that it can't be business as usual. The Kenyan youth have sent a signal to the whole of Africa that they will push back if the leaders don't do the right thing. And so definitely I'm signaling that it will not be business as usual in our new administration. We'll cut out waste, we'll cut out opulence, we'll bring a code of conduct for public sector, public appointees, especially political appointees, in how they behave in terms of their modesty, in terms of their humility. Your appointment to that office is an opportunity to serve. It's not an opportunity to lord it over the people. And so our political appointees and public office holders must change their attitudes. And so that is what we're going to insist on, that people that we appoint are modest people, they are humble, they will open up to the people, and they'll do the things that will make the lives of our young people better. And so we're going to hold them to a higher criteria of service than people have been held to in the past. And that's why I say, if you agree to serve, you must serve and not have other side businesses and do other things. You must not go and buy state property. Anybody serving in my government will not be allowed to buy a state asset. Nobody serving in my government will buy a state asset. Vehicles or cars or buildings or land or anything, nobody serving in our government will be allowed to buy a state asset. With regards to the deaths, I have the same opinion as you. 8 of our citizens died for no reason, and our president has not even extended any recognition of what had happened. And no attempt has been made to investigate. I have said in several places that we'll investigate what happened and find out those culpable for those deaths. And aside from that, we'll compensate the families adequately on the loss of their loved ones. And it's not only the deaths during the election. You mentioned there are shaman brutalities. It shouldn't have happened. I mean, a soldier was killed, very unfortunate, by a group of armed robbers. And because of that, a whole community was subject to brutalization. I don't think things like that, should happen in the 21st century. And so I put out a statement when it happened, condoling with the victims, and also asking the military to exercise patience. I believe that the military work in a very difficult environment. They are responsible for our safety and security. But at the same time, they should recognize that the money the taxpayers pay that put them in that uniform and give them those instruments are to protect the citizens and are not supposed to be used to brutalize the citizens. And so we need to see how we deal with that. Ayawaso West Wogon, a whole commission of inquiry was set up Government has with impunity refused to implement the recommendations of the committee. Only recently I visited one of them. He was a footballer. He is unable to go back to work or do anything because of the infirmity in his leg. And so I went and presented a freezer, a flat screen TV, and 5,000 cedis to him in order to help him keep going. And I believe that people like that should be adequately compensated so that they can live their lives again. I am a Christian and I belong to the Assemblies of God Church. Ordinarily, building a house of God is something that we all do. I contributed monies in my local Assemblies of God branch to build our church. And it's created an environment for us to praise and worship our God. But I don't condone stealing in the name of God. And that is what has happened in the case of this National Cathedral. It is instructive that members of the Board of Trustees, some of the members of the Board of Trustees, have resigned, and they have called for a forensic audit of the National Cathedral. I'm not saying it. Members on the board believe that fraud has been perpetrated against the people of Ghana, and they are calling for a forensic audit. At the time this National Cathedral came up, it was somebody's personal commitment to God. And we are sure that public funds were not going to be used for the National Cathedral. Unfortunately, we hear that 300 and something million has gone into it. Where did those payments go? Were they justified? Who did they go to? These are all things that we have to unravel. And I think that that is the first thing we do before we even decide what to do with that huge pit. And so first, let's investigate and do a forensic audit. And if people have, illegally and unlawfully taking the monies of the people of Ghana, they must be made to refund those monies. And so that's the first thing I'll do with regards to the cathedral. Yeah, Titi Medase. Say question I will say no idea me no ewo baby bebre. Me so make say adia ye say aban eba na ehya ase ene mpuntunjuma ewo baby bebre e bia market and school and hospital. We be say aban foforo ba na e kire say omu dwen say omu disika hyimu a credit no ebekọ aban dada ne nchen. Nti no mo twegu na omo ankasa omo akọhye omo de ase. Na meka se nyame ye adom ne eba sika ye wo ye de behwe saa mpuntunjuma ne bebre a aka a kire se ye twegu na ye de ye sika hyemu ne etimi ewie saa ndwuma no ansa ne ya hye ase ene foforo. Nti meka se district bia ye be inventory of all projects a kire se aban aba aban ekọ ni na omoja egu ho na every year budget a yebe bia yebe yi sika egu nchen a ekese ye de be wie sen dwuma no nti 4 years a mewa ban mu a meye president no afi bia ye de sika beto ho se ne be ya every district en dwuma a ewo ho a ekese ye ja atun rem no ye de sika no ebeto aso na ye wie ansane a sha ase ne foforo. Because we come baby classroom block yenwie. We be hu na assembly aka say oh ye sha ase ne classroom block foforo. Anka sika ye won no yemfa nwie ne yenwie no ansa ne sha ase ene foforo. Enti ano me ne o ye adwen say abandoned projects e was here hwe na ye. Na o kaka ho ene taxes and levies. Ampa o hwe ade ba ko a ama Ghana Kani na yese ye favorite destination for investment. And they say na your taxes ne levies ewo form kakra. And so I think so there say senya aban ama the economy no ahwe ase no. IMF program a omuko mu no. IMF akachiro mo say yetwa yeje anasa revenue a ye nya no e wo se ye pagya ekodru 24%. Kane near 15%. Taxes are almost there 2 years. A payja ya about 17 point something percent. And so almost by 2028, I will see it drew 24%. In the chest, Omunya ye, sa taxes now de gue so no. And young Andrew Pempenswa, Yabeka say, Omoye. Entina now person mode VAT to electricity. So that was one of the reasons. And so, yes, at you say more, Ekotia ya, and by now, electricity bill be a VAT at that so. Yankwani on mine are a woo see hangina, a chese yare, aba eko, yeji eto, efasa yare no, COVID levy. COVID aba eko, China baby, COVID a frimpo, yen geomo COVID levy. And so Ghana kwani a COVID levy. And it's an your man who share emissions tax, and it's our taxes nina, a yet toa, a buying edit 2 years, so as a result of IMF agreement on my year. And you know, because oh, meba mecha etuonumu. Wo wa ban numu sesia, so obetimi etwa etuonumu a, shase netwa namato etuonumba from ne hu. Menka say omontoma miansa meba sa etoi me ye firi ho. Enti nya woka no ne nokre no. One of the things I ben say, you be streamline VAT. Because mentia say obekọ ejom na enkrofo miensa eton ade baako eye VAT 3%, baako ne VAT e wo soro kakra, baako so VAT ye 21%. Meanwhile omu nyina the same customers. Enti say me ba ho na obeje me VAT 21% a meko ne obeje me 3% no. Enti I see a streamlining so that traders nyina will pay the same rate in terms of value-added tax. I feel so called Portwa, send your kind of Toyota Vitz. And then many good afoshiaye may for an example of car beer will be imported and I may kind levies and taxes also. About 23 levies and taxes. So what has a duty and it's an your manner and no you harmonized ECOWAS tariffs into duty no one to mean your but the problem is the levies and port charges are illegal. And so I say about we rationalize all those levies. Ni say wo ho no ye be ye free ho. Say na be ya e be matro na ba from kakra. But the major thing I was saying they say we have to stabilize the currency. Because it will affect bia. One of the reasons Ankrofo Esu and they said this week we be na currency no. Yes, Bank of Ghana say currency no. Exchange rate near say into start one near Bejo port. The next week we call Nasidi a free ABR 14 above 15. Into start one now obetia in CDs no nature say a cost. Into one of the priorities of government will be to stabilize the currency and stabilize the economy. Senebeya obia asombejo no. Into MC Moya memano no. Universities. What are we going to do about tertiary educational institutions? There are many challenges there. One of them is that students don't have enough hostels to live. And so they have to go for private hostels. And the private hostels are expensive. And so one of our objectives in our manifesto will be to accelerate the building of hostels. And we're going to do that with private sector. The universities have lands. And so we can engage the private sector to build hostels, and we and them will agree on the fees that should be charged in the hostels. The government alone cannot build all the hostels to accommodate the students. But there are Ghanaians who have investable funds that they can use to provide hostels. If you go to the universities today, what they'll take you through in terms of eligibility to build a hostel, they want to see your bank balance, they want to see this, they want to see, so many things. It makes it difficult for the private sector to come in. But if we apportion some land in every university and say people who want to invest in hostels should apply, we'll go through the criteria fairly and transparently and allocate the lands for them to build so that our students can get accommodation. That will be one way of doing it. Aside from that, we'll uncap the GET fund. This government has capped the GET fund. And so any money that exceeds a certain statutory threshold goes into the consolidated fund. And so the GET fund is not receiving enough money. Apart from that, 60% of the GET fund has been collateralized with the Dachi bond. And so only 40% of a capped GET fund is available to continue projects. And so we'll uncap it and we'll liquefy the GET fund so that it's able to continue to do the work it's doing.